Eric, what's up, man?
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Not bad.
Good to hear. So, just take us back to the beginning. Where'd you grow up and how'd you find your way into combat sports?
I grew up in Connecticut, Quaker Hill. It's kind of a small town. But I was always really interested in martial arts. I wrestled growing up. My grandpa was a boxer, so we were kind of around it a little bit. And then I decided to wrestle in college. And over one of the summers, I popped into an MMA gym to do a open mat jujitsu with my friend. And there was a fighter there, Brendan Ward, very successful fighter, fought at a Bellator for a while. He's doing bare knuckle now. Um, but he beat the shit out of me. It was bad. It was like just wrestling, but he was throwing me around the mat. Um, and invited me to come up and train with a couple of his other friends at another gym. So I was wrestling with them for that summer, and it made a huge difference in my wrestling skill, my cardio, everything. So I decided I was gonna join up with them after.
Yeah, and you mentioned growing up in Quaker Hill. I gotta ask, how far is that from, New Haven, Connecticut?
Maybe like an hour and
Hour.
change.
So, do you
Yeah,
make
yeah.
your way over there for the pizza every now and then?
I actually, my mom used to make pizza for me when I was a little kid growing up, and that's better than any pizza I've had elsewhere. So
All right, fair
I
enough, fair enough. You're over there in New Haven, near New Haven, so I had to pop the question. So,
yeah.
that's awesome, though. So, you wrestled at Rick in 2023. How long have you been wrestling, and how much of your identity as a fighter is that wrestling base?
Well, I've been wrestling. I wrestled through high school. I didn't wrestle my freshman year. I had a bone chip in my arm. Couldn't move it for like 8 months, so I didn't get to wrestle my freshman year. But wrestled all of middle school, a year or two of youth, all of college, and 3 years of high school. Um, and the wrestling's definitely been a big part of my identity as a fighter in some ways. Um, but I don't know if you watched some of my more recent fights, it hasn't occurred to me to wrestle very much, which is unfortunate because it is my best skill. But I'd say the mindset that wrestling encourages and builds, the tenacity, the aggression, putting a pace on your opponent, I'd say that is a huge part of my identity. Um, but I'm looking to start re-implementing it more into my fights.
Yeah, so you mentioned you want to re-implement it more into your fights, and it's your best skill as well. So with that, talk to me about what Wolfgang Wrestling is. I see that you have it in your bio. How does that fit into your overall development as a combat sports athlete?
Yeah, yeah. So that's I keep that in there. So TJ Hepburn was my off-season wrestling coach when I was in high school. And he runs Wolfgang Wrestling, and they do a lot of like high school and youth stuff. And TJ is a fucking stud. That dude, I mean, he fought professionally as well. I think he fought at a Bellator, um, and he was a NCAA champ wrestler, 3 or 4 time All American. Just like absolutely phenomenal wrestler, and he played a huge part in making me fall in love with the sport and also developing my own skill. So even though I don't train out of there anymore because it's all for youth
Mm.
developing wrestlers, I keep that in there because he was absolutely huge. He goes to the fights still.
Okay, yeah. So you mentioned that this gym was a major part of your development, and you keep TJ in there because of what he did for you as a fighter. So keeping on the topic of gyms, you found your way to Team Dexter Valley Tudo MMA. So how'd you find that gym, and like how did that relationship come about?
Well, I first started training there when Brennan brought me in to wrestle with him and a couple of his fellow fighters. They weren't on the same. They weren't fighting out of the same gym, but they worked together. That was the gym we were using for a lot of our wrestling. And I met the couple other fighters there, Billy Goff and Jake Kasky, phenomenal human beings, great fighters. And training with them, it improved my mindset a ton for wrestling. It made me stronger, tougher, And then I got to work with Dex, the head coach. I popped in for a couple of their practices, and his coaching ability and knowledge of the technicalities of the sport is like out of this world. So I was like, okay, well, if I'm gonna do this, this is probably the spot for it. So yeah, I've been there ever since. So I've been training there 3 years now, just about.
All right, yeah, so you've been there for 3 years, and you mentioned the super high technicality and skill at that gym. Obviously, it's one of the top gyms in the Northeastern region. So just tell me about the environment in there day to day. And, you mentioned Kasky and Billy Goff. Is there anyone else that, is pushing you the most in their day to day?
Oh yeah, I mean, there's a ton of guys in there who are, and we're all helping build each other. Actually, my brother just recently joined, which is a lot of fun. He's gonna be nasty. He learns so fast. He's a tough bastard too. Um, but uh, all of them, like, it's not like everyone in there is fun. We're laid back. There's a lot of jokes. It's a good environment. But when it's time to train and time to push yourself, then there's no one better to be around. You got Dex and Billy, and having them in my corner is huge because they bring the right mindset. We come to fight. Got to be willing to die in there, and they both embody that. So it helps.
Yeah, you've got two very, very talented, fighters and highly skilled people in your corner. But I'm really curious. Talk to me about this dynamic with your brother in the gym. So, were you guys growing up together fighting? Are you the older or the younger brother? Tell me about how that dynamic do you think is going to translate into, getting actual minutes with him in the gym?
Yeah, yeah. So we probably got in a fist fight every day growing up, like just constant. We were very a lot of sibling rivalry, very, very competitive. And he was younger, so I would usually win, but he was always better than I was at his age and like right on me the whole time. And I was petrified of getting like passed over or like beat by him because we were so competitive. Um, but it's so cool to be training with him now. We got an even better relationship than we had then, and he's phenomenal. Like he's strong, but more than that, he has like an incredible willpower and ability to learn. And it's almost like he decides, okay, I have to get better, and then he's better. It's like, all right, that's not fair. um, but it's cool to have him in there. Sometimes when we're grappling, he's only been grappling for a few months. He's been doing Muay Thai. He did that for about 6. So his striking's already pretty solid. And he's been training here since. But sometimes he'll give me some problems when we're grappling or sparring. Can't get in on him. He's a little bit taller than me. He's younger, but a little bigger. And I can feel some of that. Ah, god damn it, my little brother's already getting better than me, but it's fun.
So you mentioned, in the early days you were always scared he was going to pass you, and that kept you motivated to keep getting better and better. With him now training side by side with you, is that going to be, something that's coming back into the brain? You're going to keep getting more motivated to keep getting better to make sure he stays as the little bro.
Well, yes and no. So it absolutely helps and keeps me motivated. It makes me want to set an example. Uh, do the right things. We share an apartment together, so I got to be on my game. Can't be staying up late or eating the wrong foods. Got to set the right tone. Um, but I mean, I want him to be better than me now, so it's fun, and um, he knows me very well and can really push and motivate me. Having him in the room when I'm doing my cardio, just yesterday, I mean, it worked out. We were both at the gym with a assault bike conditioning at the same time, and having him hitting it right next to me it's motivating because I want to be strong for him. So it's cool.
Yeah, so obviously your brother is really motivating you, or you guys are motivating each other to keep getting better. And you also mentioned a bunch of other guys in there that are motivating you. So, talk to me about this relationship with Billy Ray Goff specifically. He's obviously a talented UFC fighter. How did that bond, begin to start? How did that bond start, and how did he get to a point where he's cornering you in every fight?
Yeah, well, he's my best friend. I respect him so much. he's probably the mentally strongest or toughest person, like when it comes down to it, that I've ever met. Um, I thought I was, and then I don't know. There was one night. It was probably maybe a year into training. He had just had a car accident issue. His back was all fucked up. He was injured, coming back from it, not in shape. We were doing some post practice conditioning, and the last like 30 seconds, it might have been like we were doing like fight sim circuits kind of thing, and it was like 1-2 sprawls, which is basically a burpee. So we're sprinting through that, buzzer rang and I went to finish my rep. And I think he took that as me trying to do an extra rep and he wasn't going to allow that. So he did another rep. And then I was like, well, now this challenge has started. I can't stop. And we were at the gym until after midnight doing 1-2 sprawls. It was horrible. We were literally doing 1-2 sprawls for hours. And he beat me. In my defense, I had work at 8 a.m. And I was like, I'm not going past midnight. We have to stop there. But yeah, and that was coming off an injury, not in shape, but he's got that edge where it's deciding to like quitting or giving up is always a decision, and he just has the ability to never make that decision. And I feel like I have that ability now, and it helps strengthen me. So we've been we've been close since I got there, but we keep getting closer. I worked for him. He has a couple shrimp wrapping business and a boat detailing business that I worked for him under. So that was fun.
Yeah, so you guys are obviously super close. He's motivating you, he's getting you better. And with that, he's been there by your side and you've built your amateur record through Cage Titans, CES, reality fighting, all throughout the New England regional scene. What has that grind been like for you? And what has competing consistently in those shows taught you about yourself as a fighter?
Well, I feel like I've matured and grown. I take lessons from each fight. I would I really like competing a lot. And there was my first year of competing. I got 5 fights in, and then we've had like several fights fall in a row where I get like 6 months breaks. It just happened again, and that's very frustrating for me. I prefer to be, every other month, every 3 months, get in a fight. And I know that's not realistic to hold up for a long time, but that helps me stay focused, and I enjoy fighting so much. Like it's such a free feeling that I hate sitting around outside, especially like I've been waiting for fights and I gotta hold my weight down, so I'm hungry every day, and it's like, God fucking damn it, let me get one of these so I can binge and get fat again. um, but yeah, it's fun. I love fighting. I mean, reality's great promotion. It's a huge arena, which was terrifying. That was a mental battle. My first fight, just walking out in there. But Cage Titans, fighting for them is incredible, dude. It's like a coliseum. They got like the environment, the crowd that shows up are all hardcore fight fans. The lights, the way the cage is centered, it's almost like vertical seating on the sides. It feels like you're walking out into the coliseum, dude. It's like, oh my god, that's fun. But yeah, I'm looking to fight there next month actually. So we got to see if we can get an opponent. But
Yeah, that'd be awesome if you get an opponent. And if you do, I'd love to hear more about that fight and we can hop on another call and break that one down. Looking back, you mentioned you like to take a lesson from all your fights. And with that, you took a loss to Lucas Baptista at CES 78, but then bounced back with 4 straight wins. So what did you gain from that fight that put you in that position to succeed?
that one was a big change. I was actually so after I was done with wrestling, I was doing fighting because it was the next closest thing.
Mhm.
But I didn't really love what I was doing, and I mean, you're training like 30 hours a week. So I was mentally in a not a good space, a lot of depression, and I wasn't. I heart wasn't in what I was doing. Fighting was still fun. Like I loved my first fight; that was amazing. But the process of it, I wasn't all in on. And then I just I allowed the fear of what I was doing to control me too much. and I was looking for ways to get out of that fear. So I was not living healthily. And then on that fight day, I was just mentally disassociated, completely out of it. And I lost. And it was almost like I had gone in expecting to win, even though I had all this shit going on. So I actually started to love the sport and love the process after, because it felt like it was something that I needed and it was better for me. Um, so I've come in more focused ever since. My last fight actually lost too. My preparation for that was great. Might have been a little much, but it was fantastic. I wasn't injured at all. My cardio was phenomenal. Everything was peaked, great. But I was so scared of losing again that I was kind of locked up. And since that fight, I've reevaluated. My mentality after a loss, wrestling, fighting, whatever, has always been okay, get stronger, get tougher, um, and just, I don't know, go harder. And it's like, all right, there's a certain point you can be stronger and tougher and better conditioned and just keep stacking that up. And it's not going to fucking matter if you get flatlined and you don't know how to defend yourself in a position. So taking a step back, almost not caring less, but trying to take the importance off of the outcome and allow myself to learn and be weak in certain positions and figure out how to develop there. So honestly, the last like 5 months or 6 months has been probably the best skill development I've had since starting fighting, just because of that reprioritization of energy and mentality looking into it. I feel like I'm learning, I'm enjoying what I'm doing, and I'm just very frustrated that I haven't had a chance to display it yet, but we'll see.
Yeah, and you mentioned that recent loss in your professional debut against Anthony Palmiotto at Reality Fighting, and you've obviously been very smart about it. You've reflected well, reevaluated. So, with that, what do you feel about? How do you feel about the transition from amateur to professional? How has that transition felt for you, and what are the key differences that you felt going into these fights and camps?
So the transit cardio wise, I was a little nervous just because I wasn't sure how I was going to have to adjust my pace, but I felt fantastic. Going out of the first round, it felt like I had just finished a warm up. It was crazy. Um, I was very the mental switch, even though I obviously I'm willing to give everything I can to win that amateur fight. In the back of your mind, it's almost like, hey, this is amateur, this is getting wiped. It doesn't matter, and that takes a little bit of pressure off. And when it was pro, it's like, oh, this matters now. You have to win. Like you have your dream, you want to be the best. Like you have to win this fight. And I was like, I could not manage my fear. I was in the locker room and I had to keep laying down and trying to stay still because the room was spinning. Like I couldn't stop the ceiling from spinning. Like visually, like it was bizarre. And it's just fear of loss, fear of not being good enough. If the only way you value yourself is by winning, then it puts all this pressure on it. So that was honestly the hardest part, is just it being pro. And also, um, I had poor defense in the clinch that I hadn't really been exposed to in amateur, because you can't knee to the head in amateur. And when I found myself in that position, granted, I was rocked and a little panicked, but I was like, oh, I'm fucking stuck here, getting my face rearranged, because he was a fantastic striker, incredible striking, really heavy leg kicks. Yeah, he's a very good fighter. But I took some lessons from it, figured out some areas I have to improve, and I'm working on them.
Yeah, and with that, you're always taking these lessons from these fights, and it's really smart, like I said, how you've looked at the fact that it's just, amateur to pro, and you can go in there and do the same thing, and as long as you're not afraid of losing, you're not going to be scared to go in there. So, with that in mind, learning from these fights, take me back to when you got that Cage Titans belt in your amateur career. What did winning that championship mean to you? And what does it represent in terms of where you've come from?
That one was cool. I always had problems performing under pressure in wrestling. Probably like up till my senior year, it was a huge issue of senior year of college, like the whole time. Um, and to have it be a title even though like it's fucking amateur. It doesn't really matter. It kind of put an extra pressure on me, like, oh, am I good enough for this? So winning that added something cool, but that fight in general was fantastic because that fight was hard. Like I got the shit beat out of me for the first 2 rounds, um, and it gave me a lot of confidence both in myself and in my gas tank because it's like, all right, like I can, I have this as a weapon. Like I always had issues with my gas tank in wrestling, which is more of a mental thing and a performance issue. But to be able to have a fight where it's like, hey, I'm getting kind of styled on here and I can't corner this guy. He keeps keeping me at range, picking me apart, and just pressure him until I could feel him get too exhausted to fight anymore and then win off of that. That felt, I was like, okay, that's a real weapon that I can feel confident in.
So you have this cardio as a major weapon, and you're just getting started as a professional. So in the future, where do you see yourself going in terms of promotions, titles? What's the overall path you're trying to build for yourself here?
Well, I want to be the best. So I want to be a world champ. Um, I love the process of fighting, and I like every time I go out there, I want to show who I am. I want to show what's inside me and what's inside my opponent. I want to display that. And I think when I have the opportunity to do that, I will do so every time. And even if other people can't see it, like if I go out there completely free, ready to give everything, and I get fucking spinning heel kicked in the head and slept, like no one else is going to be able to see. But I know that I've displayed who I am, even if it wasn't visible. So that for me is important. I'm trying to set that as my priority going forward, so it takes some of the pressure off of you got to win, got to have this outcome focused goal. But I want to be the best. I believe that I will be the best. So
100%. You want to be the best. You have the wrestling foundation, the Vale Tudo training environment, Billy Goff in your corner. When you put all that together, how far do you think you're going to go in the sport?
I mean, I believe I'll be a world champion.
World
I
champion.
got I got a long ways to climb, but um, the one thing that I know, well, three things that will not be matched. One is guaranteed. They're not going to have more grit than me. I'll I'll go as far as I need to, and then another step for fun. My cardio and my strength, like physical strength, uh, conditioning, those are, I believe, levels above where I'll need them to be at any point, and I'm going to keep pushing them. So I'm focusing on skill development right now, getting better, staying calm, looking at the mental aspect of things. But I know I have those weapons that I will push myself till my body falls apart, um, and my body's able to output more than my opponent. So
Yeah, you definitely have the mindset of a winner, mindset of a champion, and overall, I'm just excited to see what the future holds for your career.
thank
So,
you, man.
yeah, of course. So, I have one more question before we wrap this up. And before that, I just wanted to thank you for your time for hopping on this call. And in the future, I'm only a couple hours out of the Valley Chudo gym. So, I'd love to,
Oh, nice.
get some, you could teach me a thing or two sometime.
Hell yeah, dude. Absolutely, come in.
Yeah, that would be, if we, that would be an honor, to say the least.
Thank you, man. I
Yeah.
appreciate you having me on. It's fun.
Of course. So, my last question to wrap it up is, you're starting your professional career's just started. What do you want people to know about Eric Zane before the rest of the world figures it out?
Kind of want them to be surprised. Uh, I mean, I'm gonna come to fight. You're not gonna see me quit in there ever. So
All
no
right.
matter what, I'm gonna give up for it.
Yeah. All right. So, never gonna give up, and a little bit of a surprise. We'll have to wait and see in that next fight then.
Hell yeah.
All right, brother. That's all I have for today. And yeah, thank you for hopping on the call, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, man. You too. I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Of course.